Well, while Zelenskyy is calling on Europe to help Ukraine get justice in its war with Russia, the European Union might also be helping Kyiv lose the domestic battle to successfully transform into a truly democratic nation. Now, that's the opinion of three Ukrainian lawyers who have just published an article in the online news outlet Politico. They say in negotiations with Ukrainian authorities, the bloc has already backed down from some of its previous public positions, and it might be ready to compromise even further. They go on to say it will also make it evident to the Ukrainian government that the bloc can be manipulated and that the European Union will consequently lose any leverage over other reforms related to the country's European integration. There have been questions over the rule of law in Ukraine for many years. The EU was pushing for reform, but since the invasion, the lawyers argue that Brussels has taken the pressure off of Kyiv. Well, my first guest tonight is Mikhailo Zelenskyy, who co-wrote that article for Politico. He is founder and chair of the De Jure Foundation. That's a civic organization promoting the rule of law and reforms in Ukraine's legal and justice system. Mr. Zelenskyy, it's good to have you with us this evening. Inside Ukraine, you say that there is much to do, much to be done when it comes to the rule of law. You served several years as a judge yourself in the country. Can you describe for our viewers the situation there now as you see it?
Yes, hello. Thank you for having me. And of course, it's a very important topic for us because the rule of law is a foundation on which the European Union is built and on which the Western civilization is built, which we desperately want to be a part of and in many ways are. But unfortunately, we still have challenges in the rule of law, especially when it comes to political dependence and corruption inside the judiciary. We're trying to tackle this now, and we are I must say, partly successful already, but there's issues such as the Constitutional Court, where there's still a lot of political pressure is exerted on the judges, and it is a very crucial moment now where we have to decide how we select our judges of the Constitutional Court, and coincidentally, this is a #1 priority out of 7 for Ukraine's EU integration. And depending on how it turns out, this will define how the Constitutional Court in Ukraine and rule of law and the whole country actually looks like in the next decades.
Yeah, you say that there are people in the Ukrainian government who oppose judicial reform. I mean, who are they? And what's their beef with reform? Why are they against it?
Well, let's get one thing clear. We're absolutely 100% behind President Zelenskyy and his effort to counter Russian aggression, B, reform the country, and but whilst he's busy with everything that goes on with the war and the international relations and the army and the war context, there are still people inside his administration that do not know any other way of managing the country other than manual. And unfortunately, these people are still looking into how to manipulate and how to gain full control over the Constitutional Court, where they already have some of the people inside who are very politically dependent. And there's already 5 vacancies in the court that, if filled, that would give them the majority in the court for the next 8 or 9 years, which of course would be undue concentration of power, which is especially, say, dangerous during times of war and post-war situation. And of course, that's something that should be avoided. And the worst case that can happen here is that we get a system in which the politicians, those in power, can inject their own people in the Constitutional Court, but these can be deemed as a reform, as something that is very much needed to Ukraine's EU integration. That will result in no EU integration, of course, but because the EU will not want a country without the rule of law. And of course, for Ukraine, it would mean they would be pretty much stuck in a limbo without the rule of law and without the EU integration, and having maybe won the war, but not having won the peace, which, of course, for the Ukrainians doesn't mean the victory.
And lawmakers, they have to know this. They have to understand what you're saying. I'm wondering, are you talking about improving jurisprudence here in your country, or is this more about changing the mindset in a lot of your law, in the minds of your lawmakers?
Well, it's both. It's changing the practice, actually. It's what we're looking to, and what we're looking forward is the just decisions of the judges. And that, of course, comes both from practice and the mindset and everything. But I have to disagree with people who say, well, we first have to change the mindset. The mindset changes through practice, and that is built by the judges, who have to be by the Constitution and by just common sense of high integrity and professionalism. And that's essentially what we're looking into. And we already have these people in the country who are very highly trained, who are of high integrity, but unfortunately we still do not have the system in place that would select them from the plethora from all those who apply to different competitions. And that's why we absolutely have to have the system that selects the best of the best, especially in a situation where there's still many influential people who still want to control key judicial institutions.
Yeah, you speak there. The will to power is as strong as ever, war or no war. Mikhailo Zennikov, we appreciate your time and your insights tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.